Good evening. The Rio Rancho Public Schools Board of Education meeting for Monday, October 10th, 2022 is now called to order. If all would please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Lori, can you take a roll call for us?
President Galbraith,
Present.
Vice President Morgan,
Present.
Secretary Scott, Board Member Tripp,
Here.
and Board Member Tyler.
Present. We have a quorum for. Thank you. Okay, we'd like to welcome everyone out to our meeting today. I can see we have some different visitors and such in our audience, and so we're so pleased to have you here tonight. So thank you for being here. Tonight's meeting will start off with some introductory comments by our Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Visu Cleveland.
Good evening, and again, welcome. We are glad you're here this evening. Okay, we are now nearing the end of the first 9 weeks of school and the grading period for secondary students. Elementary students have already received their first progress reports, and secondary parents should be receiving those in the next week or so. It has really been an interesting transition for the majority of our students as they return to in-person learning. We certainly are going to be looking very carefully, analyzing all of our student performance data for this first grading period to kind of assess where we are. We really encourage our community and parents to continue to work with us to assist students as they acclimate back to synchronous learning. And I would have to say, truthfully, it's been really hard for some of our students to kind of get back into the groove of school as they have had in the past. As we shared the last board meeting, we know that for absolutely certain, though, as we've looked at preliminary data coming in, that many of our students have some major catching up to do in terms of their academic coursework. This evening we have accommodation. As you know, the State Fair, the Balloon Fiesta, has now come and gone. The Public Education Department hosts a State Fair art exhibition, and Rio Rancho Public Schools, as in previous years, did participate in that wonderful event. Lincoln Middle School student Alani Julian won first place in the middle school division, and her teacher is Pamela Elam, and Kurt Schmidt, Executive Director of Fine Arts, will be sharing with you some information regarding this important recognition. But again, congratulations, Alani, on a very wonderful recognition for you in your school. We are continuing to work on our partnership with CNM and NAIOP and SEA have a combined meeting tomorrow morning at the Rio Rancho Public Schools CTE Center. And both our district and CNM will be sharing how we are moving along in our partnership, and maybe more importantly, how our community can assist in making that a reality. The partnership has been a real challenge because K-12 and higher education are just such different and unique types of organizations. And so learning and working, figuring out how to work together has been challenging, but everyone has been committed to trying to make this work. We will also continue to work with state and local officials to support this effort. We have 2 of our congressional delegation who will be speaking in the morning as well. We continue to share our needs with those state officials and with our local businesses. I've had people say, oh, you don't have any CTE. Well, it's really important that you get started on that. We have a lot of CTE in our district. We've had it for several years. But this center is an effort to really concentrate opportunities in the skilled trades areas. But we've had a lot of programs for a good number of years, so this is not our first CTE programs by any stretch of the imagination. We do have a few classes that are being held right now at the CTE Center. We certainly will be providing an update for the board on CTE in an upcoming board meeting because a lot has happened since our last update. Some of you may have been there. Tesla is coming to the San Ana Pueblo. They plan to open a sales and service center in May of 2023. So that's exciting for our region. And they will be opening a sales and service facility. We were asked, some of us, to attend the groundbreaking ceremony. And it's not exactly a groundbreaking, but construction is underway already at the site. Major construction is already underway. It will be located at Highway 550 and 528 on the northeast corner intersection, which is, of course, a very busy intersection, a lot of traffic there. What I would like you to know is that they have indicated a desire to work with the CHS robotics program. And they have already been in discussions with Ashley Knoll, who is the Cleveland robotics teacher. And she, is really to be commended because she has really fostered a relationship with these folks. And the conversations are pretty serious and have been ongoing for a while. So that's really exciting. Tesla also expressed interest. I met with a couple of their folks. They also expressed interest in the proposed automotive center with Rio Rancho and CNM with regards to electric vehicles and training people to work on them, and discuss the really rapidly increasing need for having people who are trained to work on EV. And they think there's just going to be a lot of really wonderful possibilities in the future. They also said, which I thought was very exciting, is they hope this will be just the first of several investments. And we really hope that this is successful, and they might consider putting some other things as well in our area. But congratulations to Santa Ana. Okay, we have some reports this evening. Eric Harrigan with the RBC Capital Markets will provide the board with the results of the last bond sale. As you know, he is a financial advisor to this district. We are very appreciative of the hard work that goes into a successful bond sale by Eric and his staff. So we thank you for that. Danny Harper, who is the chair of the Hall of Honor Committee, and Beth Pendergrass, Chief Communications Strategy and Engagement Officer, will announce the opening of the nomination process for the 2023-2024 Hall of Honor recipients. These recipients are a select group of individuals who have made significant contributions to RRPS. And so we would certainly encourage community and staff to nominate worthy candidates for consideration for this recognition. At our next board meeting, our honorees for this year will be invited as guests to view the plaques that are mounted outside in the lobby, right outside the boardroom, and receive their small personal plaques that we did not have at the other meeting. And then we'll have a very short reception where people can visit with them. And some of them wanted to bring some additional members of their family who they were not able to bring at the original presentation. So we'll be looking forward to that next board meeting. And then Kurt Schmidt will present his departmental report for fine arts this evening. This department, as you know, continues to do outstanding work for students and supporting our staff in our district. We have some approval of awards. We will be asking the board to consider approving several awards this evening. Michael Madrid, Purchasing Director, and Melanie Archibald, who is our Executive Director of Facilities, will present and briefly share how businesses can, also been asked if you could share just briefly how businesses can do business with the district. And I know you've shared that before, but it would be appreciated if you could just briefly do that again. They will also answer questions that the board may have on several proposed awards, and those are Contractor on Demand, Electrical Contractor on Demand, Pumping and Disposal Services, and Plumbing Contractor on Demand. We also have another amendment for our SFE contract. This will be amendment number 4. The board is being asked to consider the approval of another amendment for school food excellence. We better known in our district as SFE. And this request is going to be presented by David Vigil, our Executive Director of Finance, and Michael Madrid, our Purchasing Director. The proposed amendment identifies a process Should school food authority receive funding, which is us, RRPS, receive funding for a USDA supply chain assistance grant or other similar grant programs that would help offset some of the costs. And that would be wonderful if we could receive some of these grants, and they would need board approval to be able to do that. The Food Service Management Company, which in our district is SFE, agrees to utilize the funding according to the requirements of the grant. The agreement also specifies how that monthly credit will be referenced in the invoice that would be submitted for payment. So I had one call, a little confused over all of the acronyms in the memo, and so hopefully this will clear that up. But certainly the presenters can provide more information if you need for them to do so. We love acronyms, and we really love them. Okay, excellent. We also are proposing, again, this will be a first reading, some policy changes, and these are in the area of facilities. They will be presenting 4 items as a first reading, so no action obviously can be taken this evening with regards to proposed policy changes on the following topics: materials and equipment management, building plans and warranties, educational specifications for school facilities, and the use of pesticides. And also Lauren Hatch, Chief Legal Counsel, will be available if there are any legal questions on any of the policy proposals. And that's all I have. Do you have any questions?
Any questions? Any questions? No? Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Actually, so Dr. Cleveland, you were really excited about something the other day. Was it Tesla that's coming? Is that what you were excited about when I talked to you last? It's super exciting. We're excited to have them in the area. That's going to be wonderful. So, all right. Well, thank you, Dr. Cleveland. We'll now go to approve our prioritized agenda and proposed time allocations.
Madam President, this is Board Member Tyler. I'd like to make a motion to approve the prioritized agenda and proposed time allocations.
This is Board Member Gary Tripp, second.
Okay. We have a motion by Jessica Tyler and a second by Gary Tripp. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries 4-0. Okay, as for public comment tonight, we actually do not have any public comment. Kim, is that correct? There's no public comment that came in on the sheet. Okay, so we have no public comment tonight. For those who would like to give public comment, you are always welcome to come into our boardroom and give public comment if you sign up before the meeting. We also have our form on our board page that you are welcome to fill out, and I will summarize those comments if you give comment through that public form. So for our next item, we'll move on to item G, is our commendations. So for our commendation, we'll invite Kurt Schmidt, our Executive Director of Fine Arts, to come up, and all those he would like to have come with him. And it's on the NMPED State Fair Art Exhibition.
Good evening, President Galbraith, members of the board, Dr. Cleveland. Tonight I present to you for commendation Ms. Alani Julian, right here, an 8th grader in Lincoln Middle School. Alani's artwork, which you can see pictured above, received first place in the middle school division of this year's State Fair School Art Exhibit. And you may recall that this is the second time Alani has been commended by the board. Her artwork received second place in the middle school division last year at the State Fair. So this is just a second run, so it just keeps getting better every time. So, and also with her tonight are her parents, Anthony and Carmen Julian, and grandparents and little brother. Oh, okay, perfect. So with that, I will, and also we have Alani's teacher, Ms. Pam Elam tonight. So I don't know if either wants to say a few words or, okay.
Actually, probably more than one.
Please
Go right ahead.
I just wanted to say congratulations, Alani. I'm so proud of you. Every time something comes up, I say, okay, we're turning it in again, and she just appears with this amazing art. She submitted 2 pieces this year, so I'm super proud of her. That was the first thing. The second thing I wanted to say is that her artwork will also be taken to San Antonio for the National Art Educators Association meeting that's taking place in March in the spring. So and it will also be displayed with all the other first place winners of state fairs from around the country. So I'm super excited for her. Yay! Go Lincoln. Go Alani. Thank you.
Alani, did you want to say anything? No. Her artwork says it all. So I don't know if the board has any questions. Or...
Before you sit down, I just want to say this is absolutely beautiful. What beautiful, beautiful artwork that you've made here. My mom was an art major, so we have paintings, and still to this day, I commission art to go up on my walls. And so I have just such a great love for art, and this is just absolutely beautiful. So thank you for representing our district so much. And Dr. Cleveland, do you want to say
Again,
something?
it is beautiful, and thank you for sharing it, and we're really just so happy for you. I'm really glad all your family came, because we know that it's important the family supports that student, and that's what makes it a reality. So thank you all for being here, and again, congratulations, and hope the next level you're successful as well. This is just, it's just beautiful.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. And thank you, parents and grandparents and everyone for being here. It takes a whole home to help our students to be successful in what they want to do. So thank you again.
And little brother.
Yeah, go ahead.
I was just gonna say thank you to the little brother, Anthony.
Yeah, little brother. That's right. Does anyone else on the board want to say anything before we begin?
Just very creative. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Really appreciate it.
Very
Yeah.
creative. Don't slow down on that. Great skill.
Mhm.
Great job.
Yeah.
Beautiful work.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Mhm.
Okay. I have to say, and I think when Kurt comes back up, we'll hear more about these. But I have all these beautiful postcards up on my thing that I've been staring at. I just love the art. Okay, so we'll move into our reports. Our first report is a report of the 2022 bond sale results, and so Eric Harrigan from RBC Capital Markets will present to us.
Hi, good afternoon, Madam President, members of the board, and Superintendent Dr. Cleveland. Eric Harrigan with RBC Capital Markets. So this is just part of the overall process of the district selling its bonds. So in September, the board authorized the issuance of voter authorized general obligation bonds. We sold bonds on September 20th. At a public competitive sale. And as part of that process, we're required to report the sale results to the board. This is just a report. There is no action on this item. And so going on to the next slide, so 20 million of voter authorized bonds were issued in September. The true interest cost was 3.296%. Just to kind of give you a little bit of a comparison, this time last year, when the district sold its bonds, it was closer to 1%. And that is only to do with what is going on in the market. What we do look at is we look at the spread of what the district achieves to the AAA MMD yield curve. That's what all municipal bonds are priced off. And where you priced last year was basically right on top of where you were this year. Again, it really just comes down to what's happened in the market. These bonds are scheduled to close on the 12th of this month, and that's when funds will be available for the district to begin to expend on its projects. Next slide, please. So there was a total of 7 bidders. The winner was R.W. Baird at a 3.295. I think just one item to note is that the bidding was very, very competitive. JP Morgan was second at a 3.298. Just 0.3 basis points, and with Fidelity at a 3.299. This is one of the closest biddings that I've seen, which is always good to know that you're getting a very competitive interest rate. Next slide. So on this slide, as I mentioned before, what we really pay attention to is, what's happening, how did your bond sell to the AAA MMD? And you can see over here on the 2 columns to the right, we have the AAA MMD, and the spread is about 5 to about 20 basis points. And again, this is very competitive to where the district sold its bonds last year. The bonds were sold with 5% coupons and yields ranging between 2.64% and 3.44%. On slide 4, this is just a semi-annual debt service schedule. This represents the repayment of the district's bonds. One of the things that I just did want to note is that we do have a slightly higher first year interest payment principal payment than we've had in the past. And this is really a product of the rapid growth in your tax base. And so this will just further benefit your capacity later on because we're able to retire debt faster due to the strong growth in your tax base. There's a couple of slides on the market. I won't go through them. I'll just make a couple of comments. So we wanted to try to get ahead of the Federal Reserve meeting in September, which is why we sold on the 20th. The Federal Reserve met on the 21st, raised rates 0.75 of a basis point. Again, that's 3 meetings in a row in which they did that, and it was fairly expected. So it's always very difficult to time the market, but it seemed to end up being a pretty good strategy. Rates have risen very significantly since that point in time. And if the district sold its bonds today, you'd be paying about $200,000 more in interest cost just because of what has happened to interest rates. The Federal Reserve is expected to meet again in November and is expected to raise rates again between 50 to 75 basis points. So we're going to continue to see, probably a rise in interest rates. Hard to understand where rates will, go, but the district has additional bonds to sell next year. Kind of the part of the final authorization. It is kind of interesting to note that the expectation is actually towards the end of next year, interest rates may start to come down. As there is, possibility that the U.S. could enter a recession. And so with that, I would be happy to answer any questions about the sale or the market.
Thank you. Jessica Taylor, questions? Carrie Tripp?
Thank you.
Dr.
Questions,
Cleveland,
thank you.
Dr. Cleveland, do you have anything?
No questions. I just hate to see those interest
I
rates.
know. I know. Well, it's funny. I was talking to my mom the other day and she was saying in the 80s when they bought their house, and this is, home interest rates. So she was like, we were so excited to get 8%. Like that was amazing. And in my, since I've been buying homes, it's always been 3 and below. And so it's really hard to see all of the change that we're having. So anyway, with no questions from anyone, then thank you so much. We're so grateful for all the work that you do for us. You do a really
Absolutely.
great job. So.
And I also just wanted to, and I forgot to mention Kaylee, she works with me. And while I take all the credit, she does all the work.
She does all the numbering. She does good behind you. She was making faces. Well, we appreciate it. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob.
Okay, moving to our next report, we have our Hall of Honor Committee nominations. And so here to present, we have Beth Pendergrass, our Chief Communications Strategy and Engagement Officer, along with Danny Harper, our Chair of the Hall of Honor Committee.
Good evening, President Galbraith, Dr. Cleveland, and members of the board. I would like to introduce Ms. Danny Harper, who is the chair for the Hall of Honor Committee, and I'm going to turn the time over to her.
Good evening, Dr. Cleveland, President Galbraith, and members of the school board. Selection to the Rio Rancho Public Schools Hall of Honor is the highest recognition bestowed by the Rio Rancho Public Schools Board of Education. The hall was created in 2014, and since then, the board has inducted 13 outstanding individuals and corporations as members of the hall. At this time, I would like to invite the Rio Rancho Public Schools Hall of Honor Committee members who are present to please stand. The Hall of Honor Committee consists of community members and district representatives. Their names are on the screen. And I would also like to recognize and invite them to please stand Education Foundation President Bill Stanage, Secretary Noreen Scott, and Treasurer Carrie Plant, and our Chief Communications Strategy and Engagement Officer Beth Pendergrass and her assistant JC Oliver, as they will be working with us on the Hall of Honor Celebration Planning Committee. As you can see, there are many individuals involved, and I would like to thank them for their wonderful help with the Hall of Honor and invite them now to please be seated. We are pleased to announce that the nomination process for the 2023 inductees to the Hall of Honor is now open. Nominations will be open for 3 weeks and will continue and conclude on Tuesday, November 1st. The individuals considered for induction to the Hall of Honor are distinguished by their extraordinary service over an extended period of time to the children of Rio Rancho Public Schools. Thank you, President Galbraith and School Board and Dr. Cleveland for making the Hall of Honor a priority. I would like to now invite Beth Pendergrass to explain the nomination process.
Thank you, Danny. So we will be announcing this tomorrow. We'll start to do our outreach, including all of our typical communication methods. We have a form created that we'll ask people to fill out, so then we'll receive the submissions right away through that form. We'll be sending a press release to the Observer to make sure that they put it in as well. I know Gary will be watching this, so Gary, thank you. And so other than that, we're just going to make sure we get the word out, and we really want to capture some of those nominations this year that maybe, you know, we haven't thought about in the past. So that's what I have. Thank you.
So are there any questions?
Do you have any questions? Any questions from our board?
No questions. Thank you.
Yeah, Dr. Cleveland, do you want to add anything? You know, last, when did we do our dinner last? What month was that we had our, was it in June? And it was so, so lovely and so wonderful. And so I just want to thank you for helping with all those things. But, you know, this is a really important thing in our community. And as I sat there and listened to, as we inducted all those individuals in, and many of them that I had known throughout the years, it was just a really sweet thing to see and to be able to just say thank you for all those who have given so much to our schools. And so we are still, though we're getting to be an older district, like everyone has just put a lot of time and effort to making our district wonderful. And it's because of these people who sacrifice their time for us. So thank you so much for being here. So anything else for us that you would like? Okay. I want to say thank you too to everyone who came tonight from their board. Thank you so much for being here. I realized Pat was here when she stood up, and and so many of you in the community. So thank you so much. It's really a great, wonderful board that you have that helps put these things together. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. I feel like I need to clap, or we can clap. Thank you all. Thank you all. Okay, our next report will be our Fine Arts Department update, and we invite Kurt Schmidt back up, our Executive Director of Fine Arts.
President Galbraith, members of the board, Dr. Cleveland, as announced, I'm here to discuss the Fine Arts Department of Rio Rancho Public Schools. First of all, I think it may not be necessary, but it's always good to reiterate just what are the fine arts. And when we talk about fine art, in the singular, we often think about pieces in a museum, sculpture, paintings, that sort of thing. But in the plural, fine arts is an umbrella term that incorporates two broad categories of the performing arts and the visual arts. And the visual arts are the spatial arts that hang on the wall or stand in your foyer or something like that. Whereas the performing arts are temporal arts. It takes time to appreciate them. So they're kind of laid out there, what we offer in the district. So when we talk about fine arts, we're talking about both visual and performing arts. Also, it's important to understand what the department does. We oversee all fine arts K-12 for all students in the district and all teachers, all our arts teachers. So we help with the recruiting and the hiring and helping aiding and evaluation of teachers, et cetera. The vision of our district is to help all children discover the arts. And the mission is to make sure that the arts are part of a comprehensive education for all students in the district, and that the arts are taught by very highly qualified teachers. Make sure that they're great people standing in front of them every day. And the goals are arts literacy, preparing and presenting artistic works, and arts integration. It's also important to realize that the arts are an academic discipline. We have our own knowledge, skills, understandings. They do differ significantly from other disciplines. They're a different way of looking at the world, different way of experiencing the world. But despite those differences, we do have a lot of commonalities with other academic disciplines, our own standards, best practices, et cetera. And because of that, we often work closely with the C&I department on projects. Three terms that often cause some problems when people are talking about the fine arts are curricular, co-curricular, and extracurricular. And again, curricular activities are those that happen during the school day. They're attached to a class that meets, that is credit bearing, and attendance is taken and that sort of thing, has a curriculum. And all our fine arts programs have that element to them. Co-curricular activities are those extensions of the classroom into the evening or after school. For instance, an art show, drama performance, a musical performance, etc. So all the fine arts are either curricular or co-curricular. There are no extracurricular activities in the fine arts because everything can be traced back to the school day. So when we're talking about extracurricular activities, the term fine arts probably shouldn't be in the same sentence when we're talking about that. So just to clarify that issue. Also, of the most important thing to remember about the fine arts is that they are ends in themselves. They are undertaken for their own sake. That there's no other reason why you, for instance, participate in choir. It's just the activity that you enjoy, and that it's similar to other activities like athletics or so forth, where it's not an end. It is an end in itself. And these are two of my favorite quotes about the arts. The second one is one of my favorites. The arts are useless, and that is their glory, because they're undertaken for their own purposes. So the fine arts department structure is a little convoluted, and I should have checked because I'm colorblind and I can't remember what these colors are, but I will take a stab at it. The department here at the district office, there are basically two of us. They're here every day. That's myself and my administrative assistant. There are also, in addition to the administrative assistant here, there are two other clerks who are located at the two comprehensive high schools that assist the fine arts teachers there with budget, transportation, and that sort of thing. So we've got 3 secretarial type positions. We also have 2 coordinator positions, whom I think are in blue. Is that blue? I did well. Okay, that's batting 1,000. 2 coordinators. There's the district percussion coordinator who pushes into all secondary schools every week and helps out with the percussion students across the district. We also have an elementary band coordinator who not only teaches in the elementary band program, but also provides additional instructional support at the middle schools. And also we have an orchestra educational assistant who is similar to the coordinators. She teaches in the elementary orchestra program, but also provides additional instructional support at all 6 secondary schools. And then tangentially related to the department are the elementary content leaders, the middle school content leaders, and the instructional leaders in fine arts at both high schools. And notice how I got through that without mentioning more colors. So at the elementary level, we've got 24 art and music teachers, and it's important to remember that these teachers teach every single school at their elementary schools. So unlike a general education teacher who might have 25 kids in the class, these teachers see upwards of 600 students every week or so, and they're not only teaching them, but evaluating them, giving them grades, et cetera. So it's a big job, and they've got a lot of kids under their wings. It's also important to realize that our district offers art and music every year at every school for all students, which is different than other areas, other districts surrounding us that will go nameless, who might offer art and music maybe every other year at every other school or something like that. So that's been a really great aspect of Rio Rancho Public Schools since its inception. And also part of the elementary program are the 5th grade band and orchestra programs. At the secondary level, we've got 39 dance, drama, music, and visual arts teachers, and anywhere between 50 and 60%, and it changes from school to school. But I crunched the numbers last month, and 53% of our secondary students are enrolled in at least one fine arts class every semester. So we'd like to see it a little bit higher. It has been as high as 60 or so, but those are the numbers this year. My department also supports the strategic plan of Rio Rancho Public Schools. Next slide. And staff excellence, we aggressively recruit and hire the best candidates that we can find. And we've brought several of them forth for commendation. They win a lot of awards. They're leaders in the district and in their fields, and they've just done wonderful things. We provide continual professional development and also lateral and vertical professional development. A lot of our arts programs are multi-year. For instance, choir will go from 6th grade to 12th grade. So because there's a continuity vertically there, we want to make sure we provide a lot of support to those teachers so that there's continuity as the students progress through the programs. As I mentioned, our members our teachers are members of their professional organizations and have received a lot of awards. Engagement and innovation, that part of the strategic plan. By the very nature, the arts are engaging. And if I invite any of you to go to an arts classroom anytime, and you'll see pretty much 100% engagement 100% of the time, or pretty darn close to it. Because by their nature, their electives, kids want to be there, so they're naturally enthused to be in those classes. And by their nature, the teachers are creative people. Creative arts people are creative, so they are always trying new things, trying to find different ways of approaching and reaching the students. And they're innovative. And also engaging to our students are co-curricular activities such as camps, clubs, and that sort of thing. Under safety and wellness, we've got a lot of clinicians that come in to work with our students, guest speakers. So we are very vigilant about following all the safety precautions with background checks and proper security measures, et cetera. Operational excellence. I loved what Mr. Resch said a couple of weeks ago in his department report that you can't lead from behind a desk. So I try to get every week into the schools, into classrooms, and watch students and teachers and provide support, see how things are going. And it beats staring at a screen when you can go see kids engaged in the arts. So that's we do that often. Also, we have monthly fine arts PLCs for all the teachers. There's constant communication with the content leaders at the elementary and middle school levels and with the instructional leaders of the high schools. And my department also oversees the Fine Arts Education FAE Act money that flows through the SEG. New this year, this is a high percentage. We have 10 new fine arts teachers, and that's about 15%, which is higher than normal. It's not a bad thing necessarily. It was due to a lot of retirements and people moving out of the area. So it was not disgruntled employees, but we did have a lot of turnover this year. Also, new within the last couple of years are several camps. We have the Arts of Success camp I'll talk about in a little bit. Middle school band camp, which just started this past summer, and the middle school orchestra camp also started. We've begun having performances at the Sky Center, at the Sky Room at City Center. And also what you have in front of you are the Random Acts of Art project. And what this is a collaboration with Beth Pendergrass's department. But my wife and I were out for a walk one night, walking the dogs, and there was a bag there that said free. And so we cautiously opened the bag, and it was this beautifully painted ceramic sea turtle. And we said, oh, it's a random act of art, kind of jokingly. Well, that got me thinking about some things. And we thought, how to get our student artwork into the community as much as possible. So this is a kind of a small way without hauling artwork into a facility and having a full-blown art show. But these cards, and there are 10 in the series, it shows a detail of a piece of student art. And on the back is the complete work of art in miniature with a title, the artist, the school, the grade, about the work of art, maybe the medium, etc. And then an inspirational quote, and every card is different. And this is very important. At the bottom, it says, this card is meant to be shared. Pass this message along to make someone's day. So I expect all of you to keep these and pass them on. I do not want to see them in the trash after the meeting or left at your desks. So you must take them and send them into the universe with goodwill. But this is a way to try to get art into our community. So we'll be having stacks of these, perhaps at the library, the Chamber of Commerce, et cetera. So they're just a way of sharing the great things that are happening in our district. So that's new. It's being rolled out at this very moment. So challenges, as always, just processing clinicians that will come in to work with our students, the background checks, et cetera. We've seen massive growth, and I'll talk about this in a minute, massive growth in the elementary band and orchestra programs, and that's causing a big swell of enrollment at the middle schools. So it's causing some issues and staffing we may have to address later. Also, just constantly tailoring the programs to meet the needs of the students, finding innovative new classes, et cetera, and just getting teachers the support they need. Planning for the future, again, staffing if growth continues, and recruiting, constant recruiting for the best people possible for our students. Celebrations, one figure I've mentioned before, but about 10% of our fine arts faculty are alumni of Rio Rancho Public Schools. And I think that's a real testament to the programs and the strength of the teaching that goes on, that they want to come back and engage in the same art form that they were so successful in school. So that's a very nice statistic to share. There is an expansion of visual art at Rio Rancho Middle School. There are now 2 full-time visual arts teachers because of the demands of that school. And as I mentioned, the elementary band and orchestra programs have grown over 100% since pre-pandemic levels. The band, for instance, was usually around 100, 110 kids. Now we're at 270 plus. The orchestra is right around 100, and it's or less than that, and it's now at about 180. So again, those represent over 100% growth in those programs, thanks to the expansion efforts we did a few years ago. And again, that might cause some staffing issues later, but we'll see. The summer camps we've started the last few years are wonderful. The Arts of Success Camp is a camp that we started 2 years ago. It was a 1-week camp for elementary students to engage in music, art, and PE. There was such a long waiting list. We expanded it to 2 weeks this past summer, and serviced over 400 students and their families. So that was, and it's all free to the families. So they came in, received instruction and activities, got a free, either a free breakfast and lunch or lunch and dinner. Also, our band and orchestra camps, as mentioned, just started up this year. And in closing, I just want to point out, this is one of my favorite quotes by Picasso, that art washes away from the soul the dust of everyday life. And I think we all have experience in that, but we have to remember it every now and then, that what's the first thing we do when we leave work and get in our car? We turn on the radio and enjoy some music. Or on the weekend, we go to the movies and enjoy cinematic arts. So arts are all around us, and it's very important that we have them in the school so the kids can experience them. And again, as I said, just experience life differently and just connect with a different part of their psyche and their being. And the next few slides are just pictures of some kids in action. If we go back one, this is from the Arts of Success Camp. There's some kids enjoying art and music there. The next slide, Ms. Donna Barnitz, she teaches art at Colinas del Norte Elementary. She was approached by the Sandoval County Regional Medical Center to display student art. So these are pieces of student art on permanent display at the hospital. So if you're ever in that facility, go and enjoy that. I forget exactly where they're located, but you can go see our student art. And the next slide shows Ms. Barnett's right after she's hung the work. Again, I'm sorry I don't have the exact location, but just wander aimlessly around the hospital and you'll see it eventually. So, and then the last slide is again a Skyroom performance by one of 2 middle school bands at Rio Rancho Middle School. One of the 2 jazz bands at Rio Rancho High School at the Sky Room last spring. And you'll notice down the left-hand corner, Dr. Cleveland enjoying the concert in a rather fetching hat. So it was a wonderful performance. We had the elementary band play, over 100 kids, and then all the jazz bands from middle schools performed. It was a good turnout and just a wonderful use of the facility and a great partnership with the city and its facilities. So with that, I will stand for any questions.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Cleveland, did you want to add anything before we go to?
Just a couple of things. Again, the whole point in education is to educate the whole child. And so this is one of the ways we reach children, where they have an opportunity to be creative, expressive, and in many cases showcase the talent that they have. And so it's really important part of our overall instructional program. This, as you well know, doesn't happen without outstanding leadership. It just can't. And Kurt Schmidt has just provided incredible steady leadership for this program now for several years. And I made the comment that I certainly really believe it. The Fine Arts program is one of the crown jewels of the school district. And I'm sure you picked that up, because week after week, board meeting after board meeting, you hear the work of some of our students and the recognitions that some of our various band, orchestra, choir have earned. The other thing I would have you know that sometimes we have vacancies. We post and we wait for someone to show up, and that's never been Kurt's style. The minute he knows he has a vacancy, he goes and finds those people and recruits people that he knows will be good and will be strong. wasn't just waiting around for someone to find our website and apply. And having talked to a couple of the teachers, they said he's been pressuring me for several years to make the trip across the river or whatever. But that active recruitment pays off in terms of having really quality staff. And you've seen, just incredible staff members who've come and shared with you at various board meetings the work that they and their students are doing. I did want Kurt and I haven't had a chance to share with him that I gave these to the secretary. And he was going to take them down, put them out at the public ed department. But he wanted me to convey to you what a great idea. He hoped that maybe other school districts would pick up this idea and showcase the art in their own communities. For you may or may not know that our current secretary is a former band director. And so he has a real passion for the arts. And that was his initial assignment. And then the other thing I would leave you with is just appreciation of the board for your support. I was having lunch one day with someone looking come up to a foundation position and talked about how hard Rio Rancho works to keep it affordable for our students. And this one individual, and I won't name her, whatever, but it's in our general area. Some kids have to pay $1,000 cash to play in the band.
Mm-hmm.
And our parents do have to work, and their students, they raise money and they do things, but we don't keep students out of our programs. A lack of being able to afford to do it, and that would happen without board support. And so I think it is really important to thank the board, all of you, for continuing. I turned it off. Continuing to support this program. So again, thank you for your report, and it was very informative. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. And then questions. Do you have any questions?
No questions, but just wanted to thank you for the excellent work and the leadership that you provide, and always doing a great job of taking the time to commend your staff and the students. And it takes a lot of work on your part, and we recognize that up here. So thank you for always doing that. And I did have, I guess, maybe a question or a comment. So you said that extracurricular would never be utilized in the same sentence as the arts, but we also have clubs. So it could be, I guess, that a student who couldn't be in the class because maybe they have to take a different credit could participate in a club?
But potentially,
But-
usually I'm thinking of, for instance, the National Art Honor Society.
Okay.
Those kids are by and large, I think almost 100% art students who are in the class during the school day. It is a potential, I think, but
But not for them.
I'm hard pressed to think of an example exactly, but it's very possible. Even solo and ensemble festival, where kids go and they receive a rating for playing a solo or doing an ensemble. Again, that's related right back to what they're learning in the classroom, and they're members of the class.
And the only reason I bring that up is because I know students are always faced with the decisions of, they have such minimal amounts of electives that they can take, or it feels that way to them. So they're always trying to make those hard decisions of what electives am I going to take, or maybe I didn't get my first choice. And so I was just thinking, having extracurricular activities around the arts could be really beneficial to provide that opportunity where maybe they can participate in a club when they don't have the ability to dedicate or they, weren't able to get into an actual class during the school day. So that's why I bring up the point.
Yeah, and I think that's something to explore too, just those opportunities. It's an interesting thought. I do that. In my experience as a teacher, and it might be different now, being several years removed from the classroom, but kids, especially in the upper levels of high school, had a lot of opportunity or a lot of room. And one thing we're trying now is to find different kinds of art classes for our students, because you think of band, choir, orchestra, art, drama, dance. Those are the typical ones. But what about music production? What about things like that? So how to get more than the usual 53%? How do we get the other 47% of the kids interested in some sort of art form? And to the board's credit, there is a fine arts requirement for graduation, which I think we're alone in that in the state. So I think that's been wonderful for Guinea kids and helping them discover the arts.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Kurt, I have no question, just a comment. I don't know if Dr. Kleeman is going to get mad at me, but last Tuesday at the last minute, I was invited to the Rio Rancho Middle School cross-country banquet. And you had a former student that was a parent now, and her daughter runs for Rio Rancho Middle School cross-country. straight A's. And she finished like 60th in the last meet of the year, but she passed 3 girls, and Rio Rancho Middle School girls won first place. And her comment to me and her mom said, just brag to Mr. Tripp, I just made first chair in the orchestra. So it speaks to our strategic plan, our profile of a graduate, a straight A student, doing everything she's supposed to be doing. And then her proud smile of being first chair in the Rio Rancho Middle School Orchestra. So it was a great hour in life spent. Good job. Just keep it up.
And thank you for making me feel old when you mentioned grand students who are coming through the district.
I won't tell you how old I am.
Hey, Jeff, do you have anything?
Kurt, just want to say thanks for your hard work. And as we see, and as you see, it pays off. So thank you so much.
Thank you. I do have just a couple things. Our elementary band and orchestra, it's grown so much. Is there anything that we can do to support them? I know that the teachers who help with the elementary band and orchestra, they are amazing. And so do you feel like they're getting this? I know you're trying to give them support, but is there anything else that we need to do to just help them? Or it sounds like you have maybe more set up for those teachers in the last couple of years, perhaps?
Those positions are funded through the Fine Arts Education Act, budget money, stipends for those. I think stipends we should probably look at it. But again, the Fine Arts Education Act money is limited. So just finding the best ways to use it, especially with salaries being run through the formula, it's been hot. We had to make some cuts here and there. I can't think of anything off the top of my head. If you want to send more money my way, that's.
I think it's really made a huge difference in our elementary schools and helping that feeder up all the way up into our high schools. And so,
and we are seeing that the attrition is very low between 5th grade and middle school now. And the board has already done some wonderful things. For instance, supporting more positions, the elementary band coordinator and the EA position for orchestra, they coordinate, and that's half the battle, is just being organized and getting people on the same page. But I think ask me in a year when staffing becomes an issue.
No, I love that. I love that program. I'm grateful for it. And the other thing, if I'm remembering right, so those summer camps that we were just, which are fantastic, and I'm glad that there's so many people who are interested in those. If I remember correctly, a lot of that is funded because we do those extra 10 days of school. We're able to have the money for those things. And so it's good to see, though it's a sacrifice for us to do those things, to see where that money is going. And so
very popular with parents. And and thanks to Janice Chanel for helping with that. Get the LTP money flowing into that. We've tried to coordinate it so we're running either the band camp or the orchestra camp at the same time as the Arts of Success. So if a family has multi-generational or multi-aged students, they can drop the kids off at both, at least for part of the day.
That's good. Well, thank you. And I have to say, anytime I've ever gone to anything fine arts related, Kurt Schmidt is always there. I don't think I've ever been to anything where you're not there. So I just want to thank you for all that you're doing. You're doing a wonderful job.
Thank you.
Yeah. And Dr. Klingman has
Yeah,
one more thing.
I'd like to add one more thing. I think you said in your report, but engagement is the key. And this engages and gets kids interested. It also, particularly the elementary program, sets the stage for our middle school and high school programs to be successful too. If we continue to grow that elementary program, we probably are going to have to look at staffing, because I think we're almost reaching the limits in terms of the staff we have. And so at some point that may have to be reassessed if we continue to see growth in that elementary level. But one of the things that this is the non-musician, so correct me if I'm, feel free to do that. I think a lot of our students, especially students who are very talented, as they go through elementary, they have had music all along, and some are really becoming fairly advanced and ready for new challenges. And so when they get a chance to start band or orchestra, those things in elementary school for some students, it really gives them a head start for moving ahead in those areas. And so it would really be nice to have more of those options in the 4th and 5th grade, but particularly the 5th grade, as it sets the goal for them to move on. But everything starts in elementary. Everything does. The interest, engagement, and music is no exception. So
it's just been a wonderful, wonderful part of our district from the very beginning. So thank you.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right.
And we'll move to our next item to approve the consent agenda. Any questions on our consent? If not,
As Board Member Jeff Morgan, I make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Board Member Tyler will second.
okay, we have a motion by Jeff Morgan and a second by Jessica Tyler. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries 4-0. Okay, moving into our business portion of our meeting tonight. Our first is a report. The Rio Rancho Public Schools Board of Education held an executive session as part of its regular board meeting on Monday, September 26, 2022, in order to discuss pending threatened litigation as permitted under Section 10-15-1H7 of the New Mexico Open Meetings Act. The matters discussed in the closed meeting were limited only to those specified in the motion to close the meeting. All right, item B, we'll now consider the approval of award of RFP 2023-003 FAC HVAC contractor on demand. And Michael Madrid, our purchasing director, and Melanie Archbeck will present.
Good afternoon, Board President Galbraith, Dr. Cleveland, and members of the board. Dr. Cleveland, I wanted to ask, do you want me to present a little bit about how to do business with Rio Rancho before we start this? Very good. Bear with me a second. I jotted a few notes. So on August the 31st, we participated with UNM on a vendor fair. Staff attended the fair. We actually had a booth. There was other entities and vendors were invited to come down and visit the different government entities and see what kind of information they had on how to do business. The information that we provided, we explained the district's monetary policy. We actually had a little handout that was provided. We also identify some typical price agreements that are utilized throughout the district. And we also identified some points of contact that they could reach out if they had additional questions. Tomorrow at 2:30, I'll be presenting at the Hispano Chamber of Commerce, the procurement session 2, government contracts. I'll be explaining the district's information that's available on the district's webpage as it relates to procurement. We'll be explaining the different RFPs and ITBs that we currently have. I'll also be explaining the electronic bidding process. I'll be navigating them virtually on how to access vendor registry where they can identify any questions, they can access specifications and addendas that have been issued for current procurements. In addition, I'll explain typical price agreements that the district administers and then answering questions. And then on October the 19th through the 21st, we have what's called the New Mexico Public Procurement Association. I'm the Director of Education and Certification for the association. And Sal Maniaci and Jose Salazar will be presenting at our conference. They'll be presenting on school safety, and I'll be presenting on the AIA, which is the American Institute of Architects construction contract. And we'll also be visiting all the vendors' booths, providing them information on Rio Rancho and how to schedule vendor debriefings if they so choose. And then more recently, I think about 2 weeks ago, we attended the New Mexico ASBO conference, and there was several vendors there that had booths out there, visited those vendors, provided business cards, provided them explanation on how to do business with the district, and afforded them the opportunity to do one-on-one vendor debriefings if they so chose.
Thank you. I'm sad Board Secretary Scott wasn't here to hear all that. I'm going to have to have her go back and listen to it. So thank you. That was very helpful to hear and understand. Sounds like you're doing a lot of really good work with that. So thank you.
Thank you. The item that we're presenting first, this is one of 3 very similar procurements. This item is award of RFP 2023-003-FAC. It's to establish on-call HVAC contractors. The contractors will be issued a price agreement. The requested action is that the board approve a multiple award, and the vendors that we're requesting award are B&D Industries out of Albuquerque, Conti Energy Control out of Rio Rancho, ISHC out of Albuquerque, PC Automated Controls out of Albuquerque, and Weiser Electric LLC out of Rio Rancho. Some of the work that the on-calls will be providing are maintenance, repairs, and new construction. The 5 recommended vendors were vetted to ensure compliance with the requirements and the affidavits within the solicitation. And I redirect the board back to the requested action. I stand for any questions.
Okay. Do you have any questions from the board? No. Any questions? Okay. Do we have anything, Dr. Cleveland, on your end on this one?
Just a comment. I think we've said it before, but just to say it again for the record, that one of the real values in being able to select more than one group is the shortage of these workers across our metro area. And so they may very well be tied up with a general contractor and a job at any given time. So to have several to pick from is our best hope of getting someone in an emergency situation to be able to do the work. So they were all qualified, and but that's part of the reason. And someone asked me, why don't we just pick one like we used to? Our situation is just different today. Our workforce is very different today.
Yeah, I have noticed that. So we have had more of those than we have in the past. And has that been working out well for us as we've had the multiple?
I think part of the challenge that we have is scheduling. Typically, we have to have repairs throughout the year, but our big window for construction is spring break, summer, and Christmas break. So we got to make sure that these contractors are geared up to provide that. And then we also have supply chain issues that some are better at kind of bridging that for us. So as Dr. Cleveland said, it really is in our best interest to continue with this process. We feel that this is the right approach for the district.
Yeah. Do we, when they bid, do they know that we have multiple that we will be awarding the vendors that put their bids in? Sorry, I'm probably not using correct language.
No, Board President Galbraith, you're 100% correct. Within our boilerplate, we identify that the district reserves the right to issue multiple award.
Okay. All right. Thank you. It helps. Yeah, go ahead.
My question is just on the numbering. Is it starting with for 2023? Do these not go into effect of 2023, or have we just not approved any other RFPs and it's the 2022-2023 school year? I just want to make sure the numbers are correct.
Your second statement was correct. So we do it by
Okay.
school year 22, 23. So that's
Okay.
why we start with the end of the 23.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Do we have a motion?
Yeah, Board Member Tyler, I can make a motion to approve the evaluation committee's recommendation to issue a multiple award on RFP number 2023-003-FAC HVAC contractor on demand for B&D Industries, Inc., Conti Energy Control, ISHC, PC Automated Controls, and Weiser Electric LLC.
Board Member Jeff Morgan, a second.
Okay. Thank you. We have a motion by Jessica Tyler and a second by Jeff Morgan. And can you take a roll call vote for us?
Vice President Morgan,
Yes.
Board Member Tripp,
Yes.
Board Member Tyler,
Yes.
President Galbraith.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Okay, for our next item will be to consider the approval of award of RFP 2023-004 FAC, electrical contractor on demand, and Michael Madrid, once again, our purchasing director, will present.
Thank you, Board President Galbraith, Superintendent Dr. Cleveland, members of the board. This process is very similar to the one we just discussed, except it's for electrical services on demand. Once again, the contractors will be asked to perform maintenance, repairs, and new construction. All the vendors that are being recommended were responsive vendors and met the requirements of the solicitation. One thing I think that I want to add a little bit to the discussion, maybe I should have mentioned it at the other solicitation, is the vendors that are listed are providing services for other entities. So it's not just Rio Rancho. So we're kind of competing with APS, City of Rio Rancho, and those other folks. That's why, in addition to maybe resources of labor and things like that, we're also fighting for to get on their calendar to perform these construction activities. So that's why it's important to continue with the additional resources and the multiple award. With that, I redirect you back to the requested action, and I stand for any questions.
Okay. Dr. Cleveland, do you have anything on this one? You're good. Okay. Jessica, any questions? Any questions from the board? Okay, we have a motion.
Board Member Tyler, I can make a motion to approve the Evaluation Committee's recommendation to issue a multiple award of RFP number 2023-004-FAC for electrical contractors on demand to B&D Industries, Inc., HEI, Inc., McDade Woodcock, Inc., U.S. Electrical Corporation, United Power Industries, and Weiser Electric, LLC.
Board Member Jeff Morgan, I second.
Thank you. We have a motion by Jessica Tyler, second by Jeff Morgan, and if we could take a roll call vote.
Vice President Morgan.
Yes.
Board Member Tripp.
Yes.
Board Member Tyler.
Yes.
President Galbraith.
Yes. Our motion carries 4-0. All right, our next is to consider the approval of award of ITB-2023-005-SN pumping and disposal services, and Michael Madrid will present.
So as referenced in the description, this is a little bit different than the RFPs that we just talked about. The RFPs had an evaluation component. This is a bid, and the requirements for the bid is responsive low bidder. Recommendation is that the board approve AAA Pumping Services Incorporated as the responsive low bidder. The services that are being provided are pumping of the various grease traps. I think we have 17 sites that have grease traps. AAA Pumping provided us the lowest price, as you can see in the pricing matrix, at $200 per pump. In the past, the services would be performed on behalf of the facilities department, but now it's going to be performed for student nutrition, the food services department. And with that, I stand for any questions.
Questions from the board? Okay, motion.
Board Member Tyler would like to make a motion to approve award of the invitation to bid for number 2023-005 SN Pumping and Disposal Service to the lowest responsive bidder, who is AAA Pumping Services Incorporated.
Board Member Jeff Morgan, I second.
Okay, we have a motion by Jessica Tyler and a second by Jeff Morgan. And if we could do a roll call vote.
Vice President Morgan.
Yes.
Board Member Tripp.
Yes.
Board Member Tyler.
Yes.
President Galbraith.
Yes. Okay, motion carries 4-0. I'm getting my notes all messy over here. Sorry. Okay, so the next is to consider the approval award of RFP 2020. Okay, I'll make sure I'm in the right place. 2023-009-FAC plumbing contractor on demand. And once again, Michael Madrid.
Board President Galbraith, Superintendent Dr. Cleveland, members of the board. This is a resolicitation, and I kind of want to give you a little bit of history. Why is it a resolicitation? The first time that we put this out, we received 2 responses. One of the firms withdrew their response, and they didn't allow themselves enough time to re-upload, so they timed out, so they weren't available, or the system didn't allow them to upload the information. In the solicitation, when we do the RFPs, there's 2 volumes. There's a volume 1, which is pricing, and then volume 2, which is the qualifications. And the second vendor actually uploaded the same volume twice. So it was the pricing component, so there was no information on the qualification side, so we couldn't evaluate them. So that's why we're doing the resolicitation that you see in front of you today. The recommendation is for a multiple award to be issued to B&D Industries Incorporated, ISHC, and Weiser Electric, LLC. B&D is out of Albuquerque, ISHC is out of Albuquerque, and Weiser Electric is out of Rio Rancho. The vendors will perform maintenance, repairs, and new construction for the district on various projects. All vendors were responsive as far as compliance to the requirements of the solicitation. They were evaluated by the evaluation committee. If you look at the scoring matrix, I think all of them were pretty competitive on the scoring. So recommendation goes back to the requested action for a multiple award, and I stand for any questions.
Okay, do we have any questions from the board? Okay. Anyone like to give a motion for this item?
Why are you guys all looking at me? No, just kidding. Board Member Tyler. Board Member Tyler, I'd like to make a motion to approve award of RFP number 2023-009 FAC, a resolicitation for plumbing contractor on demand, to approve the evaluation committee's recommendation to issue multiple awards to B&D Industries, Inc., ISHC, and Weiser Electric, LLC.
Board Member Jeff Morgan, I second.
Okay, so we have a motion by Jessica Tyler and a second by Jeff Morgan. If we could take a roll call vote.
Vice President Morgan,
Yes.
Board Member Tripp,
Yes.
Board Member Tyler,
Yes.
President Galbraith.
Yes. Okay, motion carries 4-0. For our next item, okay, is I'm in the right place, right? Southwest Food Excellence, SFE, Amendment number 4 for USDA Supply Chain Assistance Grant or other program. And so we have Michael Madrid, our Purchasing Director, and possibly along with David Vigil, our Executive Director of Finance.
Board President Galbraith, Superintendent Dr. Cleveland, members of the board. This is the fourth amendment that gets presented to the board. The first amendment, number 1, was a contract extension for 1 year. Amendment number 2 was a meal adjustment rate for the billable meal price and the student meal cost. Amendment number 3 was modification to the fixed price for the meal equivalency, the dinner program, and the seamless summer. And what you have before you is amendment number 4. The proposed amendment identifies a process should, and SFA is the School Food Authority, which is Rio Rancho, receive funding from the USDA Supply Chain Assistance Grant or other grant programs, FSMC, which is the Food Service Management Contractor, agrees to utilize the funding in accordance with the requirements of the grant as agreed with SFA, and a monthly credit shall be referenced in the invoice submitted to the SFA for payment. So what was happening is we're getting additional funding appropriations through USDA on the supply chain assistance, but then we also kind of just embedded a blanket scenario should we get additional grants or additional funding, soliciting the board approval to require Southwest Food Excellence to identify that additional funding as a credit to the district, since it was really funding that was provided to the district, and this just really identifies an accounting mechanism for that.
And Dr. Cleveland, do you have anything on this one before we go to any other questions from anyone? Okay, I have a motion.
Do it. Go ahead.
Oh, I did have a request from one board member. Mr. Madrid, if you could just briefly again share, if someone wants to do business, we have a process and who they should contact to learn about the process of doing business with the district.
That would be myself, Dr. Cleveland, and typically I just schedule, I call it a vendor debriefing. We afford them anywhere from a half hour to an hour, depending on what their needs are. We kind of go through electronic bidding, how to do business, the difference between a vendor and a bidder, the difference between an ITB and an RFP, and what are their requirements.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Board Member Jeff Morgan, I make a motion to approve the Southwest Food X SFE Amendment number 4 USDA Supply Chain Assistance Grant or other programs.
Board Member Gary Tripp, I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion by Jeffrey Morgan and a second by Gary Tripp, and if we can take a roll call vote.
Vice President Morgan,
Yes.
Board Member Tripp,
Yes.
Board Member Tyler,
Yes.
President Galbraith.
Yes, thank you. Our motion carries 4-0.
Thank you, board.
Thank you so much. Okay, for our next item, it's our next item, so G through J are all first readings. And so I think I'll announce all of them, and we'll kind of just go through them and we can break up and as we have questions. Does that sound good? Okay, so our first readings are going to be proposed changes to policy 508, which is materials and equipment management. We'll then go to policy 505, which is building plans and warranties. Then policy 502, educational specifications for school facilities. And then policy 501, the use of pesticides. All of these will be presented by Melanie Archibek, our Executive Director of Facilities.
Correct. Good evening, Madam President, Janet Galbraith, members of the board, and Dr. Cleveland. So all 4 of the policies that you have in front of you have very minor changes. They're typically grammatical in nature. The only one that I would say has a little bit more to it is policy 501, which is the use of pesticides. And under A.1, we actually defined infestation. But everything else is minor and grammatical in nature.
Needed by the state? Like, why do we have?
I would say it was needed within the district because we'd get calls that there was an infestation. And so we thought we should probably define that a little clearly.
Okay. Any others that you wanted to go over specifically of the policies?
Only if you guys have questions. I think it's
Okay.
pretty clear,
Yeah,
but please
it
let
is.
me know.
Yeah, thank you. I went through them
Yes.
today. Do we have any questions on any of the policy first readings from anyone? No, we don't. Okay. All right. You're good.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Melanie. We appreciate it. Okay. Dr. Cleveland, did you have anything on the policies, any of the changes? Okay.
All right, but in advanced planning.
Okay. Well, we're going to advanced planning right now. So do you want to go ahead and?
Okay. Just a couple of comments. On November the 8th is, of course, Election Day.
Mhm.
And what I want the community to know is that we are asked by the state to close the schools on that day to facilitate the voting process. And it also keeps our students safer. We have a lot of people in and out of the building. It's very hard to determine who is in the building. So for both safety reasons and at the request of the state, then our buildings are closed on the 8th. And that's the reason why. And then we certainly do have another holiday on the 11th to celebrate Veterans Day. And that has always been a real strong commitment in our district to celebrate that day and thank the folks who have served in the armed forces. We have a large number of folks in this district who are on staff who are armed services veterans, and that's why that day. Actually, many years ago, we had a student who came and asked for that and talked about the importance of that in her family, and it was a very moving presentation. So I just wanted to make those comments about those 2 days.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Also on a couple of things. So we have, I know on the meeting for the 24th, we have the Hall of Honorees coming in, right? So do we need to postpone our audit committee that, and can we make sure that we have that, or is it going to be at the same time, like right before our board meeting, when they come in?
Probably be a good idea.
Okay. So maybe we can look into changing those things. And then if we could just get that put onto the board calendar.
We want to do this reception. We can do it one of two ways. I mean, we've done it both. We can do it before the board meeting and tell everyone to be here early. But it's hard for some of these folks to get here. And 5:30 is just a better time, I think. So normally we do it during our meeting, but we can do it either way.
Okay. No, that's fine. We can do it at the 5:30 time. That's fine. I just wanted to
Okay.
make sure if it was earlier, that we
Right.
make sure
We've
have
done
on
it
the
both
calendar.
ways. So it's strictly up to the board how you want to do it. If you want to do it earlier or
How much time do we usually take as we do that?
It usually, to be really honest, is usually about a 15 to 30 minutes. It's been as long as 30 minutes. So, because people come and people want to talk to these folks and visit, and it's kind of hard to get going again.
Mm-hmm.
So it's depending on how many people really want to visit with the honorees for this year.
Okay. So on that night, would we open our board meeting and then go out into the hallway?
That's what we've done in the past, I believe. Kim, isn't that correct?
Yeah, we can,
Is that on?
There you go.
yeah, we can, what I would recommend that you do is we'll make that the first item of business on the agenda after we do the Pledge of Allegiance
Okay.
and all of that, and slide a couple of other things like Dr. Cleveland's report down after that.
Okay. Okay.
And, so it'll be just the very first thing on the agenda.
Okay. That sounds
And again, if the board prefers, I mean, we could start at 5. But if we do, we need to cancel the audit committee meeting.
Well, I just
So-
asked Gary, he said that that meeting usually lasts about 15 to 30 minutes.
30 minutes.
So we will be good then with
Yeah, we
it.
should be good.
Yeah, so we should be good without it and we'll be able to do those things. Okay, that sounds good. Thank you for helping me to see that. We've been in the pandemic for so long. We haven't had this opportunity to have that happen. So we're grateful for it. So any other questions on advanced planning? I'm just going to
So
read
we're
through.
okay with the strategic, the audit committee?
Yes.
At 4:30, correct?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, so then with that, on October 12th, we have the NMSBA region meeting at 5:30 in Moriarty. On the 21st of October, there will be a middle school parent conference day, so there will be no classes for the middle schools. The 24th will be the audit committee meeting at 4:30 in the training center. Also on the 24th, we'll have the regular board meeting at 5:30. October 28th, Rio Rancho High School in Cibola, can you tell I grew up here? Cleveland High School football game at 7 p.m. So that is always a really, really fun and exciting game. So I hope everyone's able to go out for that one. November 8th, as Dr. Cleveland said, will be election day. So it'll be a virtual learning day. The 11th will be Veterans Day, so no school. We have a finance committee meeting on the 14th, along with the regular board meeting. And then the 21st or the 22nd will be parent conferences for elementary schools. There'll be no school for those students. And then Thanksgiving break, which will be the 23rd through the 25th. So there we go. This is your life in a 2-minute. Any other questions on advanced planning? Okay. So our meeting for tonight's adjourned.
Thank
Just
you.
goes faster and faster and
I
faster.
know. Whenever I read this, I feel like my life is going very fast.